Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have a single story for you with a couple of updates from the relationship subreddit. Before we start, make sure to check out my website dangly3d.com where you can pick up your own 3D printed Carmen Chameleon complete with cookies. I've got a whole bunch of other things I've printed up on that site as well, like these absolutely adorable kitten earrings that we just released a couple days ago. Check them out on my website dangly3d.com, link in the description down below. Alright, on to the stories, let's jump right in. This story comes to us from Roach Coach. One of my, 25 male, employees, 19 male, had to take 2 days off work because his father died. A week later, his dad walks into the store. Now I'm catching him in dozens of other lies. So I don't really know how to deal with this. I'm a manager at a shop that's 420 friendly for employees. As long as it doesn't affect your work, we're all a big stoner family. We know who's capable of working high and who isn't. One of my employees is becoming a bit of a chronic liar. He's a bit of a performer, always doing impressions and generally being a pretty funny guy, but he's a bit of a slacker. I'll call him Scooby. One day, Scooby comes in uncharacteristically quiet, just looking sad and depressed. He was working slower than usual and not really responding to anybody, in the middle of an otherwise busy kitchen. So he gets pulled outside and tells the owner of the store that his dad just died and he was reeling from it. He told him not to tell anybody because he's not the kind of person to spread his emotional baggage around. The owner and I gave him a hug, told him to go home and take as long as he needs. He comes back a couple of days later and everything seems alright. A few days later, a man walks into the store and asks to see Scooby. I was wondering if I could see Scooby, that's my son. You're his dad? Yeah, we look alike, don't we? He did. They looked exactly alike. So now we're faced with the situation of this kid being a little liar. I pulled my boss, the owner, aside and asked him what to do. He told me that we're extremely short-handed right now and letting him go would be counterproductive because we're in the middle of training 3 people. And letting him go would force the more capable people to work 50 plus hours a week. There's basically 2 to 3 of us, plus the owners. He told me not to say anything to Scooby, and that he and his wife would take care of it. A few weeks have passed now, and I no longer believe a word out of this kid's mouth. Apparently, the owners talked to him about his lying, but since then, it hasn't really stopped. He's taken off work from vomiting all the time. At one point, he took 3 Fridays and 2 Saturdays off in a row because of all the vomiting and various digestion issues. He said he went to the doctor and his doctor told him he was allergic to eggs, so he stopped eating eggs and then he was okay. Meanwhile, I'll occasionally catch him eating a prepackaged egg sandwich we bring for the employees for their lunch breaks. One time, he came in all sad and depressed again because his girlfriend broke up with him and his productivity slowed down to a crawl. We told him to keep his personal drama at the door and sent him home. That night, I see he and his girlfriend publicly snuggling all over my Facebook feed. I don't know what to do. I can't look this effing kid in the eye anymore, and my boss won't fire him. Do I just deal with it and keep letting this little crap look at me in my face and lie to me every time he wants to take off of work? Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Kornberg. It says, I'd kill him with kindness while outing him. Mention his father's death on his Facebook. Maybe comment on a girlfriend snuggling photo. Something like, oh wow, it must suck so much for you guys to have broken up so soon after your father passed. I'm so sorry. Please let me know if there's anything you need. Constantly reach out via phone or Facebook, public and private, every time he gives an excuse as to why he can't work. Hey bud, I heard you were puking your guts out tonight. Can I bring you anything when I close up the shop? If he's posted a picture of him eating something with eggs, say something like, oh wow, where did you get egg-free cupcakes? Were they any good? My little cousin is allergic to eggs and my aunt would love to know where to get those for her. Just pile it on. he's going to either have to confess his lies publicly or stop lying, or he'll quit. What's he going to say to the boss to get you in trouble? Roach Coach posted on my Facebook about bringing me food when I was lying about being sick. Make him stop. Not only are you laying on the guilt, you're making it really hard for him to save face with his friends and family. Lying about his father passing is really low, and if a friend or family member catches him doing that just to get out of work, he's in for it and he knows it. He's going to have a lot of uncomfortable conversations, and it's going to be awesome. OP responded to this one and said, I actually love this advice. I'm a bit of a hothead myself, but this advice is gold. Another commenter down below called Mixolydian said, if it's been a few weeks, I'd go back to the owner and explain that this kid is just becoming a useless body. It's clear he's just throwing any lie he can think of at you guys in order to get long weekends. Sick on only Fridays and Saturdays? Yeah, right. The fact that his lies are excuses that are easily disproved, dad walking into the store after he died, posting him and his girlfriend snuggling online after they broke up, and the fact that he isn't even trying to hide the evidence, completely shows he has no respect for you, the owner, the business, his coworkers, or the job as a whole. A few weeks should have been ample time to train 3 people to be productive employees, yeah? Get with your owner, show him the evidence, and fire this loser. OP responded to this one and said, we're trying our best to train these new kids, but there's so little time. We've resorted to having people come in at 3 a.m. to dress donuts in a closed store for 3 hours until it opens. But it's really hard finding people with an availability of 3 a.m. to whenever the F. If one person is doing everything they can to not come into work, it really affects everybody else who's in that job. The morale of everybody else goes down because they have to cover for that person over and over and over again. I'm kinda wondering how OP's the manager of this place, but they have no say in whether a person stays or not, especially someone who's causing this much trouble. Okay, before we get to OP's update on this story, we're gonna jump into another post that they made, kind of in between this one and the update. It's about the same place and some of the employees there, although not completely directly related to the story we're covering right now. It does, however, give a bunch more context into the way things go in this business. So let's jump into that right now. This post is titled, Me, 25 male, and my friends. My friend, 30s male, got caught looking through intimate pictures of my other friend, 19 female, on her phone. I met all of these people about 2 years ago. We all work together at a donut shop. I'm the kitchen manager, and we're like a family. We all have our differences and our quirks and everything, and despite all of us bumping heads every once in a while because of these differences, we all truly love and care about each other. Some backstory. Ashley is among the youngest of people that work at the shop. She's like everyone's little sister. It's no secret that she's definitely an attractive girl, but she's pretty much your typical 19-year-old girl. Young, naive, wide-eyed, and everything. And she looks at all of us as brothers or fathers. There are people in their 40s and 50s that work there. Matt is the store manager. He's in his earliest 30s. He's always had a pretty out there sense of humor. He's one of those guys whose humor relies around shocking you or saying something weirdly adult or talking about nookies in general. He's always sarcastic and he sort of has a complex about his intelligence. But other than that, he's a pretty cool dude. He's always inviting people to hang out over his house because he has lots of weed and is always generous with it. So today I come into work and Ash pulls me aside and tells me that she's starting to become really creeped out by Matt because yesterday she caught him looking through her pictures trying to find her nudie ones. Everybody knows they're there because she's always really particular about people swiping left or right when she's showing them a picture or something. But nobody judges her. That's the relationship she has with her boyfriend, and everybody is respectful of her boundaries with her phone. Her story is that she gets a little careless, probably because she trusts everybody, and puts her phone down real quick to go wait on a customer. She comes back and she sees him throwing her phone down real quick and acting like he was doing something else. She looks back at her phone to get back to her conversation with her boyfriend on WhatsApp, but what was up was her picture gallery, specifically the subfolder where her intimate pictures are. It's pretty obvious that Matt was looking through her pictures for her nudie ones. She told me she was so upset that she was shaking and crying, feeling incredibly violated. She never said anything to him. She pulled me aside today asking for advice on how to proceed. When she pulled me aside to talk to me, I told her that she should absolutely tell the bosses about this. She was really upset and worried about not wanting to embarrass him and make a big deal out of it. I told her that this is a really serious issue and that he violated her privacy. She said she knew all of that and was still conflicted. I decided not to press her on it because if she honestly didn't think it was a big enough deal to go to the bosses about, then I don't think it's in my place to do it for her. I told her that if she needed my help with it, that I'm open to her. She said thanks and that she'd think about it. A few hours later, Matt shows up for work and she can't even be around him. She looks visibly upset and shaken, and she pulls me aside again and told me that she is going to talk to one of the bosses today. They ended up speaking and the boss told her that she'd make sure it would never happen again. Which brings me to my issue. In all of my time and experience of working with these people, I honestly don't think they're going to take this obvious SH seriously. I think they're going to give him a slap on the wrist and call him an idiot or something when this is so much more serious than that. I'm definitely reconsidering my friendship with Matt at this point. I didn't even speak to him today. It just seems so gross that someone can present themselves as a friend or mentor and then violate someone's privacy like that, especially in an adult way. Ashley is likely going to be convinced that it was no big deal by the other male boss. It just all really sucks. I'll definitely update when I know what actually happened to Matt, but in the meantime, what's the best course of action for Ash at this point? I would really hate to tell her that it's out of my hands now when I have a larger voice than she does to voice concerns being a manager. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Sir Manatee. It says, "That's effed up. She has to keep pursuing this with the bosses, especially if it's affecting her ability to work or how safe she feels at work. You will probably need to back her up and fight for her. Make sure your bosses know how it affected her and how it seeped into her performance on the job, but also emphasize that she is of value to the business. Matt, however, is a detriment to his employees, specifically female employees. He directly contributed to a lower morale and a negative atmosphere via SH. This is not a good situation for anyone involved, and they need to take it seriously." OP responded to this one and said, "I completely agree. I really hope I can give you guys a good update once I find out what comes of all of this, but knowing these people, they're just going to call him stupid and tell him not to do that anymore. Or he's going to lie about it, and it turns into a he said, she said situation." Alright, so I know this story is 9 years old, but that's not that long ago, and there had to be cameras in this place, right? Most fast food places, most restaurants have cameras up to monitor the staff in the back in case something goes wrong. So somebody needs to be taking a look into those cameras. I also think it needs to be made public knowledge within all of the employees what this guy is doing. Because if it comes out that he's doing this, there could be other female employees that will come forward and have issues with him as well. Alright, let's get back to the original story. Here's the update for that one. This update is titled, "Update. One of my, 25 male, employees, 19 male, had to take 2 days off work because his father died. A week later, his dad walks into the store. Now I'm catching him in dozens of other lies." So it's been about 2 months since I last posted about this incident. A lot of really crazy things have happened, so I'll jump right in. After everything happened with the last post, everybody simply put the dead dad incident in the back of their minds. They were pissed for a while, but they eventually let it go. I was the last one to let it go, but I eventually did. In retrospect, I shouldn't have, because he never once owned up to the lie. He just acted like none of it ever happened. He tried to come up with lies to get out of working holiday shifts he was scheduled for, Christmas, New Year's, but nobody believed him, and he was told that if he didn't show up to these shifts, that he'd be fired. He showed up to the Christmas shift, but he overslept through the New Year's shift. Nobody cared because we ended up not needing him for the shift anyway, and one of the new guys ended up covering for him on call. Everybody was pissed at him again, and he's been on thin ice ever since. Then, crap hit the fan in the past few days. A couple of days ago, his apparently psycho girlfriend caught him hanging out in a car with one of our mutual coworkers. She had an absolute breakdown and started pounding on her window. Scooby hops out of the car to calm her down, and the coworker, Sky, drives off. The psycho girlfriend gets in her car and keeps trying to cut Sky off in traffic. At least, that's the story I heard from my boss. She eventually lets up, Sky manages to get home safe, and texted Scooby, basically cussing him out. Later that night, I make a quick stop by the store owner's house to pick up something for the store, and they tell me that Scooby called them and told them that he wouldn't be able to work for the next few days because he got into a big fight with his girlfriend and she slashed his tires. The next morning, I show up for my shift, and Scooby calls the store. His speech is all slow, mumbled, and he's slurring his words. I immediately think he's strung out on something. He brags about substances, and he tells me this story about how the night before, after his girlfriend slashed his tires, she calmed down, and they were walking around where they live, in some warehouse district somewhere apparently, looking for a store to grab money so they can call a tow truck to come get his car. While walking, he and his girlfriend got mugged. He's fine, but they beat her up pretty badly and took all their money. Because of this, he wouldn't be able to work for the next few days, which is Valentine's Day, our busiest day of the year by far. Nobody even wanted to speak to him at that point, so it all came down to this morning. The owner comes in, and I asked her if anyone has spoken to Scooby. Basically, she pulled a string, and his entire wall of lies came crumbling down. I can't make this crap up. So yesterday afternoon, Scooby effing calls the store with a disguised voice and asks for one of our coworkers, Ashley, who we just read about in the previous story. We have a really dysfunctional family. He asks for her and tells her to meet him out the back of the store with his paycheck that was left for him at the cash register. He did this so that he could avoid having to talk to the owner. Well, she caught wind of it and showed up out back of the store with his paycheck, but he noticed and literally ran away. He shows up about half an hour later with fresh scratches on his neck because apparently when you get mugged by a group of guys, they scratch your neck. She confronted him about all of it, told him that she doesn't believe a word he ever says, and that she loves him and wishes he'd stop making terrible decisions. By the end of the conversation, he basically admitted to all of the lies, and he was finally fired. And thus is the tale of Scooby, the Wandering Liar. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a deleted account. It says, "Your managers are extraordinarily bad at their job. The lack of common sense and work ethics is baffling. Look for a new job. This one will go down the crapper soon enough. People who tolerate that level of crap for so long will surely mismanage a business. You need a new job. The anecdotes aren't worth the lack of long-term stability." Another commenter down below called Well, I Mean I Guess says, "Damn, your store is all kinds of crazy. I read all of these posts and I can't believe this is real life." OP responded to this one and said, "It dawned on me during the situation with Ashley. I've been looking for a new job for a couple of weeks now." Wow, the owners really don't have a grip on what's happening in this store. Or they do and they just don't care. One thing for certain though, is that this place is not being managed properly. Number one, the person who's late a whole bunch of times or calls in a whole bunch of times with obvious BS excuses, they need to be fired a long time ago. The guy who went through his 19-year-old female coworker's saucy pics on her phone without her permission needs to be fired and possibly charged. And the owners need to sell this business to somebody who actually knows how to run one, because they are going to run it directly into the ground if this is how they're treating their employees. I mean, this place just sounds like an all-around horrible place to work.